Hello, beautiful souls. I am Christy Godwin. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends. I am your resident psychic medium, and please welcome my beautiful, amazingly talented friend and colleague, Iris Libby. Welcome, welcome, Iris.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
I'm so excited for this talk, Iris. So, Iris and I have been working on something for months and months and months. And it's coming to fruition, and we are so excited to tell y'all about it. Are you excited about this, Iris?
Can't wait.
For those of you listening to the podcast, if you want to see Iris's face, you can pop over to YouTube, where you'll also be on my YouTube channel because she just has this ecstatic look on her face. We're so excited about this. Now, in Iris's astrology work and mediumship psychic work, and in my life coaching work in mediumship and psychic work, we recognize that the public in general, us included, we're not calling anyone out. Iris and I also have triggers. And these triggers can come from childhood, and they can even be acquired before you were able to speak, before you incarnated into this life. They can be from memories that you stored in your head, but you don't consciously remember them because you were so little. And also, there's a lot of buzz talk about generational trauma. Generational is a theme. And this generational trauma can come from this lifetime or again from another lifetime.
Even come from a parallel lifetime that you're living at the same time as this lifetime.
Absolutely. Yes. And so before everyone's head starts exploding about all of this, rest assured, Iris and I are giving you the background on this process, the simple solution to it. We're going to give you some background on it first. I love what Wayne Dyer says in relation to what Iris and I have been talking about when it comes to generational trauma. Wayne Dyer says we are conditioned from birth to fit into society. Now, Iris, how do you feel about that? Can you speak a little bit about the subject of people being conditioned from birth to fit into society?
Well, we're all conditioned. If you're a girl, when we were growing up, you were dressed in pink. If you were a boy, you were dressed in blue. I look much better in blue than I do in pink, truth be told. But we're all conditioned to have certain behaviors, certain responses. I was told as a child that I better marry rich because I have expensive taste. And when I told my dad that I was going to marry for love and that I was going to make my own money, he was shocked. Like he said, girls don't do that. So we are all conditioned.
Absolutely. And people are conditioned where and they don't realize it, the subtle conditioning, and it doesn't always come from our family. It can come from advertisements on TV, it can come from school, it can come hanging out with our friends. It doesn't even have to be spoken. It can just be an unspoken rule that we feel like society has for us.
It's
Now,
true. These conditionings can just be absorbed. Like
yes,
no one gives you that message, so you just absorb it internally.
absolutely, that is so true. I love Iris spoke on that. Thank you, Iris. You do absorb it, and a lot of that absorption happens to these society's expectations when we're little, before we even know we're doing it, and before we have the ability to say, that's not really something I want to absorb. We're just an open sponge. Now, Iris and I have been working on a process to take you back to your authentic self. Now, why am I excited about this? It's because we hear a lot of that talk. We hear a lot of people saying, go to your authentic self. Who are you at a soul level? Everyone is talking about it, but there's not a lot of systems and questions to ask yourself to get you there. Have you noticed that, Iris?
Absolutely, because for one, I was in therapy for 17 years. And psychotherapy helped me, but the work that we have been doing recently has changed my life in a very dramatic way that 17 years of 2 to 3 times a week therapy did not, because I basically sat in the muck and the feelings and had to relive everything over and over again instead of figuring out a way to accept it and move on.
Now, Iris is not saying don't go to therapy. Absolutely. We are big supporters of people going to talk therapy, whatever works for you to get you to enlightenment, to get you to your authentic self. So now to the beginning of who you came to this earth to be, the truth of who you were without conditioning. That is what these questions are going to get you to. This also goes back to, I'm going to name some more buzzwords so that people understand where we're going with this. Carolyn Mace, Carl Jung talk a lot about archetypes. Archetypes are energy that we're incarnated into this earth with, and that run in our subconscious or our unconscious, according to what word you use for that. They can work in a positive manner, or they can work to our detriment. So this system Iris and I are talking about are all about taking you to the positivity of those energies. So when you see someone, you say, oh, they're a diva, or they're a bad boy, or whatever the archetype is that you're calling them. Or if you go to an astrology reading with someone like Iris, who does some really good astrology. I was about to say kick, but I wasn't going to say that because I forgot I'm being recorded. She does some phenomenal readings for astrology, and she will show you the energies coming into your chart. It's up to you what you do with those energies. So a lot of people think that they are just who they are, that, oh, this is just how I'm made. Oh, it says this is going to happen in my astrology chart, and there's nothing I can do about it. That is a construct that we have taken on. So Iris, have you seen that where people just see the negative in their charts and then they live that out?
Absolutely. I mean, really, when you look at astrology, planets they have energy, and their energy is going to play out. And with every planet, there are positives and negatives. And many times you see that, or I see that people are attached to this maybe not so positive image, and they'll say, well, I'm an Aquarian, which I happen to be, so I'm just that way. Like many people say, and it's true, that Aquarians don't like emotion. It's like, oh, get off me. I don't happen to be one of those Aquarians, but just because you're an Aquarian doesn't mean you're going to behave that way. You could look at the higher octave of being an Aquarian.
Iris, I love the way you put that. Very well put. Look at the higher octave of the energies that are playing out in your life. And suppose you have a time that you're triggered, and you're going to trigger yourself into that lower octave energy. These questions, this process that Iris and I are talking about, are things that you can quickly ask yourself and take yourself through it quickly and bring yourself to that higher octave, so that you are being proactive in any kind of communication you may have with people instead of being reactive.
We help you be your best self. So we help you live at that higher octave, which we all want to do. We all want to be the best of ourselves.
I want everyone here that's listening or watching us, think about anytime you see a baby, you see this beautiful baby. No one ever in that moment starts calling that baby by an archetype or an energy. Oh, they're so dramatic. Oh, they're such a diva. They do not label that baby. That's where these questions take you, is back to the beginning. Who are you at a soul level? You were then, and you are now the absolute embodiment of God. You are an authentic, pure love being. And I know a lot of people are going to have a hard time admitting that about themselves, but they are. Everyone has that. Everyone is that. We have taken on all these beliefs from society that have just put all these layers on top of that beautiful love that we were incarnated with. So these questions Iris and I have are going to take you back to that. These steps in the process are, I know who they remind me. I was like, there was something that I was thinking, something was in the side of my head. Like, remember Wayne Dyer. I don't know if anyone has ever read his book, 10 Secrets to Success and Inner Peace. He talks about letting go of your attachments to what you've been trained to believe. Iris was trained to believe that girls had to wear pink. I grew up in Louisiana, where my family, I was trained to believe that if you didn't take care of yourself, if you didn't go out with your makeup on and your hair done, then you were worthless. So some of these beliefs and trainings, and so I just thought Wayne Dyer put that so perfectly. Let go of your attachments to what you've been trained to believe. And though the steps of this process that Iris and I have been working on are simple and easy to implement, I do want to say it takes a mindset of people being willing to change. They want to change. They're ready to release their triggers. No more do people have to have this mindset of, this is just the way I am. What do you think about that, Iris? When people say, what do you think when someone says, you're talking to them and they're talking about an issue they're having with a coworker or their spouse, and you try to help walk them through it, and they say, oh, that's just the way I am.
I ask them, are you comfortable with the way you are? Are you comfortable with your work and what's happening at work? Because first you have to be uncomfortable with, no, I'm not happy with what's going on at work. And then you have to look at, okay, you're responsible for some of that interaction, at least 50%. So this work is easy and it's not easy because you have to be willing to change. You have to want to change and you have to take responsibility for your actions. Now, everything is not always your fault, but it's partially our responsibility. And it's our responsibility the way we respond to people. Because if you're in a charged situation and you don't respond in a charged way, the person you're speaking to will respond to you differently than if you're angry. So this helps you, the system we've developed helps you take control of your life back.
I love that. Well said, Iris. A Course in Miracles says, infinite patience produces immediate results. And I know at first you have to kind of sit with that. What? Infinite patience, which goes on forever, produces immediate results? Yes, I know that statement sounds counterintuitive, but it's really about releasing our attachment to an outcome. It's what Iris was just talking about. You're becoming neutral. You're taking control back of your life by becoming neutral and not just having this emotional action. You're setting an intention. And once you release your attachment to the outcome, you can get really peaceful and neutral. Now, I do want to talk a little bit, Iris, about something that as we were what we'd call workshopping this process, trying it on people, our friends, and we came up with neutrality. People think, oh yeah, neutral. I want to be neutral about situations. I don't want to have an emotionally charged reaction. But when you come right down to it, sometimes neutrality can be scary because we're not used to not feeling those emotional ups and downs. I know, have you experienced that, Iris?
So much. So when I get triggered, I can get into what I call a loop of anger, a loop of hurt, a loop of like name an emotion, and I can get into that loop. And what happens is I as a human, I feel like I was addicted to the high highs and the low lows. Think about it. A new relationship, a new car, a new house, you get a better job, you make more money. Like there's a high to that. Then there's the lows. There's a breakup or a friend disappoints you, or all of these things can happen. But when you're like on that roller coaster, you become addicted to the roller coaster. And I'm talking for myself. When I'm on the roller coaster, I become addicted. And when you release a trigger, there's a sense of neutrality that comes over or came over me. And I've tested this on other people and comes over them. And then I know for me and for others that I've tested it on, sometimes you don't know what to do with that neutrality because you're not on a high high, you're not on a low low, but you're in this state of neutrality, which can be scary. I know the first time I became neutral, I felt dead inside. And it wasn't until we worked this system through that I was able to embrace this feeling of not being addicted to the high highs and the low lows.
I should put that so well. A lot of times people will have issues with even, eating food. Food can give you that high. Shopping too much can give you that high. Just so many things can release that, high, and then you have this low. Instead of being even keel in the middle in that neutrality. And yes, when we're going to do some workshops with this process. So if you want to, I'm going to say this several times throughout this podcast, but if you want to look at one of our websites, which will also be in the verbiage attached to this podcast, we are going to be offering free workshops for a while on how to walk through these steps and some of the things you're going to experience them. Iris was talking, I was just thinking about how many times have everyone watching this, you'll be in bed. Now you're not out of bed yet. You just woke up in the morning. You're like, this is going to be a good day. I'm not going to yell at my children. I'm not going to get upset on the drive to work. And that coworker that bothers me, they're not going to bother me today. And then you get out of bed, your feet hit the floor, and that's it. You forgot all your intentions that you set because you start reacting emotionally. How nice would it be to have your teenager come scowling into the kitchen in the morning and instantly, you're triggered because you're like, oh my goodness, we're going to start another day with a scowling teenager. But instead you can react to them with a very neutrality to your communication. Because if you instantly come at them, they're going to come right back at you.
Right. And then you're off to the races. And I want to say something. I used to think of neutrality of being kind of that I was dead inside or that defeated. It doesn't mean that. There's a strength and a real inner power that comes from being neutral when triggered. And I've never experienced anything so powerful in my life.
You are absolutely right about that. I recently was in a store shopping and you could tell that the person that was checking me out, they had just had a very rough day. You could tell. And their communication with me was a little bit, I wouldn't say offensive, but they were just like scowling, being short. And I could see someone kind of snapping back at them. She was kind of throwing my vegetables down. They put it over the checkout thing and throw them down. I just instantly started talking to her nicely. I surrounded her with love. I went from neutrality. And when you're neutral, you can really access that love vibration. I started asking her about her day. I started thanking her, said, thank you so much for being here today. She was a completely different person when I left.
And I'm sure you turned her day around. That's really beautiful.
Well, if I had not, I wouldn't have done that years ago. I wouldn't have. I would not have been mean to her at all. But I also would not have then thought about, oh my goodness, this poor lady, for me to just walk up there and her have this reaction to me. Something's going wrong with her day. This is not about me. This is something has happened to her. And so many times we take the energy on of what people are throwing at us, thinking it's about us, and it's really not. Our emotional reaction to situations, they're not about that specific situation. They are triggering something that has happened in the past. And many times sometimes we don't even realize we're being triggered. There is what is this? Is a Lebanese American poet. His name is Gibran Khalil. Now I could be mispronouncing that. So if I am, please y'all don't come after me. But he states when you are born, your work is placed in your heart. Think about that. When you are born, when you are incarnated on this earth, your work is placed in your heart, right when you were born, back to the beginning. You'll hear Iris and I talk about that a lot. We're taking you back to the beginning. where you can just be. You can be that perfect love and essence that you were created to be.
Your, your pure essence. You can just
You're
be your essence.
absolutely. Doesn't that sound wonderful to just be your pure essence, the beautiful, loving embodiment that you are, you were created to be, and that you still are. And I want to remind y'all of something that Iris said earlier that I really liked when she was talking about our beliefs being absorbed. I don't want people to think that this process or steps to enlightenment is about constantly, oh my goodness, you're constantly asking yourself questions. So, oh my goodness, there's so much wrong with me. That is not the case. So many of us absorbed beliefs from our culture and our society before we even knew not to, before we even knew it was happening. So these steps, this process is about releasing those things that we absorb that you're not even really responsible for. You didn't even know you were doing it. You were a baby or you were a toddler, a child.
When you were in the womb, you could have been absorbing your mother's energy while you were in the womb.
Absolutely, you can. And that has been maybe not proven that you absorb this stuff, but it has been proven that if a mom is in a high stress state the entire time she's pregnant, it can have some negative effects on the baby. So it's been proven that babies can hear while they're in the womb. So if they are hearing and there's a lot of screaming and yelling in the environment that they're in, and there's a lot of angst in that environment while their mom's pregnant and they can hear it, don't you think they could be absorbing it? It only makes sense that they could. We are all have this just beautiful essence of love that is in us. And it reminds me of that song I used to sing to my kids, and also I would sing with kids in Bible school. Have you ever heard that song, Iris, this little light of mine? This little light of mine, let it shine, let it shine. Iris and I want nothing more than for people to see who they are at a soul level. For everyone listening to see themselves as we see you when you come to us for a reading. We want to help you peel back the layers so you can let your light shine. Like, who are you? Who are you created to be? This process can help you just peel back the layers and peel back the layers. And sometimes I do want people to remember that their light can be dimmed and these layers can be put on them by people who love them, and they're not even doing it on purpose. Sometimes our mothers or spouses don't want us to try things, not because they don't want us to succeed, but because they're trying to protect us.
Because they're fearful. They weren't allowed to do it, and they don't know how to release that fear. So they have surrounded you with love and fear, and it's mixed together, and it's holding you back in your life.
Absolutely. So many times where I know Iris and I recently, for anyone who's been following my journey, I had some health issues earlier in the year and went to another country for treatments. Iris came with me. People were very fearful for us because it was a country that is not a lot is known about. Do you remember that, Iris?
And all the press about Kazakhstan in the US is very bad.
Yes.
And we looked at each other and said, if we feel it's not good, we'll come home. And it was one of the safest, most beautiful country with the kindest, loving, helpful people. I mean, there were no homeless people on the street. Even fine dining had children's play areas. It was lovely, and all the press was wrong, but people were very afraid for our lives.
They were. Now, and I will tell you that there was a couple of times where people would start trying to send me articles or really just badger me about how dangerous it was over there. Now, they were not doing it to be mean. They were doing it because they loved me. They were concerned for my safety. So now, at first, I will admit, when people are coming at you like that, they came at me like quickly, your instant reaction is to be triggered and to walk in fear with them. But quickly, I would pull myself back ask myself these questions so I could get to a point of neutrality, because in that point of neutrality is where you can get the best information. You can call it your intuition, your psychic ability, the divine, your higher self, wherever, whatever words you use. It's in that neutral zone that you can get the information. And I'm not saying because Iris and I have worked on the system that we're not still triggered. I will still have opportunities to use this, I'm sure, until the day I die.
Say that I use this system almost every day because none of us, I don't know how my hand got raised here. I raised my hand and it went up, but I want to say that I get triggered all the time. And now within, I don't know, 2 minutes, I can release the trigger as soon as I feel, for me, my blood pressure, well, it's not my blood pressure, but I feel I'm boiling or I'm about to let someone have it. I go, oh, you're triggered, Iris. And then I say, okay, I go through these simple steps, ask myself questions, get centered. And what I found in many instances, the person who I was going to get upset with or yell at, once I change my energy and am no longer triggered, they change theirs. So it's really like a dance we do with people because, you know, you feel their trigger, they feel yours, and the stakes get higher and higher. But if you change the steps and you release that trigger that you have for them, they're like, oh, I must be doing this dance wrong. And so they get confused. And many times that confusion can lead to a lot of kindness from both sides.
Absolutely. Even when it doesn't necessarily, that is what Iris said is how it usually works. You're triggered, you recognize that you walk through the steps and your energy instantly changes the other person. That is typically how it works. Your energy doesn't always change the other person, but whether it does or not, you are still in control of yourself. You don't have to take that interaction with you, because that's also important. Sometimes when we're triggered and we have an interaction with people, we take that moment with us throughout the rest of the day, sometimes for weeks and months and years. We're still carrying that interaction around with us. How do you release it? Personally, I experienced something recently that was especially hurtful because it was a situation where I was being told the person I was interacting with was, oh, everyone kept saying, they're nice, they're nice, they're nice. And I was like, something about them feels off. Now, Iris and she has witnessed this. I have usually when someone comes, I meet them and I'm thinking they're a little bit off. I haven't found myself to be wrong yet. However, she's saying true. Iris is saying true. However, this person, everyone kept saying, she's so nice, she's so nice, she's so nice. So of course, I'm second guessing myself. But every time
I haven't experienced her to be that way. So right. I don't know what you're talking about, basically.
Right. Which I was like, okay. And every time I was around them, they were very nice and gracious and loving and beautiful. Then all of a sudden, boom, it'd be like a little snap of meanness. And so, this went on and went on. And then finally, I was like, enough. I'm not a very confrontational person. And because I channel so much love that usually if every time someone has that reaction to me, I channel love and surround them in it, it dissipates and they change their reactions to me. It didn't with this person. And when I brought it up, I confronted them about it. They then blamed me for them being mean to me, which we all know what the word for that kind of person is, which is a narcissist. But and if you have someone, just for y'all watching this, that someone is nice, and kind of behind the scenes mean, that's actually called a covert narcissist. But I knew, yes, I addressed it, yes, but that's on them. And I knew that I did not want to carry those interactions with me. So I was like, why am I being triggered? So I went back to it. And this was later. This was later after it had already happened. I had moved on some from it. But I thought, you know what? I need to walk through this process. And I figured out what it was. I was being triggered by something that happened to me in my childhood. So once I was able to release that trigger and recognize, you know what? why that affected me so much, that person treating me that way, was because it triggered me back to my childhood and took me back to that emotionally charged event that happened in my childhood. Once I was able to become neutral about that, I was able to become neutral about the situation now, because you don't want to carry those situations with you throughout your life, the ones that have thrown you off kilter or made you feel less than.
And you know what else I find is that once you release that trigger, when that you catch it before that trigger happens again. So say someone else started to be mean to you, you would know immediately and how to handle it and how to deal with that person instead of being confused. You're nice to me all the time, and all of a sudden you're mean to me. Like, what's going on here?
Right.
You know,
You're absolutely right. Iris, that was a beautiful point, because now when that happens, I am not processing the trigger anymore. So now I have all this mind power to be in the moment, to be in my moment of love and have my reaction act out of love.
Well, you could say something like, are you trying to be helpful or harmful?
Right.
Instead of being reactive, and you can say it with a smile. Are you trying to be helpful or harmful? You know,
And that is absolutely, yes, Iris. That is something else this does. It allows you to be reactive in a positive way. And this, we're not saying by any means, like this person, if someone comes at me like that again, will I just take it? No, this system is not about being weak, not addressing when people are being mean to you. The system is not about that. It's about getting neutral about it so you can come back in a healthy, loving manner instead of getting wound up in the emotional component of the situation. Lesson, I don't know if anyone on listening to this is a student of A Course in Miracles, but if you are, lesson 259 in A Course in Miracles states, let me remember there is no sin. Many people say the opposite of love is fear. But the Course in Miracles states love has no opposite. You are the source of everything that is. And that is love. What is your source? Go back to that baby when you were just created and you were just being. Your love. No one says that baby is so mean. That baby has so much trauma. No one says that. A baby is love. And that's what the Course in Miracles is talking about. There is no sin. Love, there is no opposite for love. There is only love. And we are love. So please let Iris and I help you, take you back to that when you were just that state of being and you can reside in peace and joy. We all know we can't control other people. This is not about controlling other people. This is about controlling your reaction to the other people so that when you react to others, it comes from a place of love. If you react to anyone besides from a place of love, you are giving them power over you and power in your life, and they don't deserve that. Have you noticed that, Iris, that whenever you respond in fear or anger or resentment, how you carry that with you and it kind of feels like you're giving your power away?
well, I want to say for me, I used to love my anger and my resentment because I felt it healed me. And it's only since I've seen that it wasn't fueling me, it was really detrimental to my health and to my soul, you know. And what I want to say is getting to the root of what a trigger is real empowerment because, you know, probably many of you have listened to Carolyn Mace, and Carolyn Mace always says, if you have 100 circuits of energy and you are using any of those circuits because you're angry, hurt, upset, needy, whatever the feeling that you have is, if you're using those circuits anywhere but on yourself, you are basically robbing yourself of energy that you could be giving to you or be giving in a positive way. So if I was mad at someone, I could be spending 90 circuits out of 100 of energy on that anger. And what about Iris? Like, who was taking care of Iris? And so I think about that often, that this is a way of empowerment, of empowering you to live your best life and be your best self, you know? And it is so easy and so simple. I've walked so many people through the process who were so, I want to say, angry or hangry. And when I'm done, they're like, oh, oh my God. Like they may feel a little because they have to keep working it, but it's like nothing they've ever felt.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Kind of emotional, spiritual, physical release that you feel on a soul level is so powerful.
Just, I would say 2 days ago, what is that? Yes. 2 days ago from the day of the recording of this, I had someone on a Zoom. It was a Zoom reading, and they were here for a psychic mediumship reading, but she was so triggered by something that we were talking about. We had not even rolled into the reading yet. And I said, you know what, can we take a few minutes? I want to ask you some questions. I'm going to see if I can help you out of this emotional reaction you're having. We walked through it. We did the process. And she looked at me and she said, you know, I have been in therapy for 7 years talking about the situation, and I can't think about that situation without being triggered. So at the end of the process, we take you back to the original situation to make sure we've released that emotional component to it. And so when I did that, she said, I feel completely indifferent about it. Indifferent was the word she used. And again, we are not saying that therapy doesn't have a beautiful, beautiful part in your life. It does. It was just amazing to her and to Iris and I how quickly that process can go when you are interested in changing and just work these steps. I want people to think about when you can reach a place of peace and love in the middle of chaos. Just think about you're in your office and all this chaos is going around you. People are like crazy, or in your house, you're having an emotionally charged moment. Kids are running around. You think you cannot even clear your mind for a second. But envision you're in that chaos and you can reach a place of peace and love. That is powerful. That is the kind of power we are talking about here.
Yes, and serenity. You know,
Yes.
interesting. You were taught. I worked on another medium who was having an issue with his sister, and he came to me and he was almost in tears. And I walked him through the process, and I said, you know, when we walked through it, I said, "How do you feel?" And he said, "You know, I'm feeling kind of like I can release it." And the next day we were at an event, and the next day I walked up to him and I said, by the way, how are you feeling about your sister? And he looked at me, he said, what? I go, remember, you were having an issue with her yesterday. He had totally let go of something that they've been arguing about for 30 years.
Yes, that is the power. I want to tell people that is the power. Okay, so now we've talked a lot about this process, these steps we've talked about. So what is it? What is it about? How can you get a piece of it? How can you see it? Now, I know some people are going to be watching this or listening to this video probably after we have run the first round of workshops on this. If you are, please still check our websites because we will be running them off and on. Like we'll run a series of them, we'll take a break and then run another series. So you can go to our websites. The websites are going to be in the verbiage, but Iris, if you just Google Iris Libby,
Ask Iris Libby.
Yes, but her website is Ask Iris Libby. But if you Google Iris Libby, you will see all of her beautiful content out there. If you don't follow her on TikTok, please do. She puts out some beautiful astrology information out there. But if you want to go to her directly to her website, it is askirislibby.com. You can find her on Instagram. You can find her on TikTok. You can find her on YouTube. But to register for these workshops, you do have to go to her website or my website. Hers is askirislibby.com. Mine is Christy Godwin Psychic Medium. And on my website, it will be home screen. You'll go under events. These workshops are going to start August 9th at 4 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, and they're held via Zoom. You do have to go to the website and register so that you get the Zoom link for it. And also, it will come with your questions. If you have questions, please come with them. This is not one of those times where you're just going to sit there and listen and not have any say. No, come with your questions. Come, please. We want to be interactive. Talk to us, ask us questions. We are mostly going to focus on this process of releasing triggers. You never know when a spirit or two might come through because, Iris and I are both psychic mediums. So you never can tell when someone's going to show up.
And also, right now, these workshops are free. So we would love to see you there and come join us, try it out, and let us help you release your triggers.
Yes, Iris, that is so true. This first round of workshops, which start in August, they start August 9th of 2023. This first round is going to be free just to get people introduced to it. After that, the workshops will have a charge to them. So if you are watching this and you can get into these workshops in August of 2023, please come and join us. And you do not have to be there every week. Is it more beneficial? Of course, the more you're exposed to any information, the more you absorb. But if you're like, this is really busy, I will only be able to be there one Wednesday, then just come. If you can be there 3 of the 6 Wednesdays, come and join us. You're always going to be able to get some kind of meat, some good stuff out of any time that you're there.
It may not be from you. It may be from listening to someone else release their triggers. You could be, oh, I have the same trigger. Oh, that happened to me. So this is a real opportunity for you to see how to get back to your soul essence and be the best you, or the most authentic you that you are.
Yes, well said. Iris, I want to thank you for being here today. And again, to register for these workshops, the verbiage will be in the written part of this recording, whether it's on YouTube or on the actual podcast. Just pop down to where there's an explanation of what's on the podcast, and you will see links to our website. On my website, it will be under the event section, and you will get the free Zoom link. For Iris's, it's askirisLibby.com. Click on where it says to register for the event, and you will get reminders and you will get the Zoom link. We cannot wait to see you. We are so excited to roll this out.